What's up, Panther Nation? What's going on, all my sports fans around the world? Anybody who may be listening, this is the Frozen Panther. I want to talk about this Josh Norman situation. If you haven't heard, he recently signed with the Redskins. Now, I'm from Carolina, Charleston to be exact, South Carolina, born and raised. I'm proud of that. I live in the D.C. area, so clearly a lot of my friends up here are Redskins fans, and oddly enough, Cowboys fans, but we won't get into that right now. But so J-No signs a contract, $75 million for 5 years. This is exactly what it seems that he was looking for. He wanted the money, and the Redskins showed him the money. I've been, I kind of joke off the Skins a lot. We all tease each other, whatever. I call them the washed up Deadskins a lot. And right now I'm going to have to call them the want to spend Redskins because they got money, man. They throw out money. Like, I remember when they threw out $100 million to Albert Haynesworth. I couldn't for the life of me understand that. No knock to him because he got his paper, but I couldn't understand where they were going with that. But either way, all right. So if you're not familiar with Josh Norman, he was a All-Pro cornerback of Carolina Panthers. He's from Greenwood, South Carolina, which is a respect. He's from the home state, from the homeland. I believe he's proven that he's an elite cornerback. He actually went to Coastal Carolina, so came from a Carolina school. We drafted him, I think, I want to say 4th or 5th round. I'm not exactly. I could check, but whatever. Y'all get the point. It was a later round draft pick. Now, he kind of entered the league at an older age. I believe it was like 24. The average kid that enters the league is probably like 20, 21. And so J-No, started off a little bit later. He had to go through development time, and, he actually proved himself over the past couple of years that, he has, the capabilities of an elite cornerback, and I respect that about him. Now, there's a lot of things surrounding this. A lot of people had a lot to say in Panther Nation. There was different people feeling a certain type of way. The big thing that surprised a lot of people was when the Panthers rescinded the franchise tag. And what that basically means is, if you know what the franchise tag is when you say to a player, all right, I think you're so good that we can't afford to lose you right now, and we want to keep you on a long-term contract. And so to give us more time to discuss that, we're going to offer you a deal which is going to pay you in the top percent of your position. And you're going to be well compensated in the meantime, and then this will hopefully give us time to work something out. All right, Josh Norman had a really standout year this past year. The year before that, it was really solid, really good year. And so a lot of people, feel like, well, he deserves to get paid. And one of the main people say he deserves to get paid. $16 million is pretty steep. And when you understand the way the Panthers work, the Panthers operate, and Dave Gettleman, the way he thinks and the way he approaches things, he's not going to pay super amount of money, especially even for certain positions. I don't knock J-No for trying to get paid. I'm glad to see anybody to come from the hometown, especially anybody who's willing to bet on themselves, to make something out of it. But I feel like there's so many different things in this situation that actually people feel like may have influenced the decision. All right, I spent a lot of time kind of defending Josh Norman. You got the Josh Norman, supporters and the Josh Norman haters. If somebody wasn't a Panthers fan, I wasn't going to take their opinion too seriously anyway. I was going to just kind of defend them either way as a member of my team. But yeah, some people say he's a distraction. Yeah, some people say that he's arrogant. I've heard people say that ever since we lost the Super Bowl, he's been on ESPN talking and all this other stuff every 5 minutes. Now he's talking he's worth $16 million over people who've been more consistent at this position than him. How does he feel like after one standout year he deserves to get paid more than these people? Yeah, all these people have their opinions and they have their right. They're entitled to that. You also have people to say, okay, well, look at it as look at the Odell Beckham situation when they were fighting the whole game. Both of them were immature. Both of them should have been ejected. I don't know exactly who started that, and I've kind of said how I felt before about that. But just in that situation, you even have some people that take in to say, well, after that game, you had a team that were undefeated. There was nobody, even touching us. After that game, the energy of the team was clearly off. We ended up losing. A lot of people feel like that had to do with the drama that was caused by that. I'm not going to say all that. I'm not going to put all that on J-No. And even if we were to put all in that situation, then that would have to be divided by 2 people. But a lot of people say that in those things it was detrimental to the team. But I really don't believe that anybody can say that weighing the good versus the bad, the potential distractions or whatever of last year that Josh Norman could have possibly caused. I don't think anybody can say that outweighed the good because that dude played really well, man. We had impeccable defense this year. And Josh Norman definitely played a big part in that. Now, when we start talking about money, we start talking about, why this possibly didn't work out. You have some people to say, well, you got somebody like Dave Gettleman who's proven himself time and time again. And he's, and honestly, I will say this, that I can remember, I've been a Panther fan for a while, since 95, as a matter of fact. And I can remember the ups and the downs, and I even remember, like, in the past few years prior to DG getting here, how difficult it was for some of the drafting and whatever case may be, like how things weren't really panning out and playing out. And I see that his approaches work. And I think that you can't argue. If you look at our record a few years ago, now and looking at our record this past year, it shows that really having that old school mentality of building a team is the most important thing. You can't look past that. With that said, a lot of people feel like $16 million that Josh Norman was expecting could have been the issue, because they said that his agent wasn't trying to budge on that. His agent was dead set on that's what he's going to take. I've heard a lot of stories say the agent represented him wrong. And you have people who feel like, okay, well, let's be honest here. We got people like Starr and KK and Coney Ely that are going to need contract extensions. And even though Josh Norman may be a standout corner, and I believe this myself, I believe that Josh Norman is definitely a standout corner. I do believe that a lot of quarterbacks were scared to throw his way because they know that he's hungry and he has the ability to make a play. And so I do really give him that. I've also heard, though, that people say there's no such thing as a shutdown corner because no cornerback can truly cover an elite wide receiver for more than a few seconds, I guess. Whatever time frame they're saying. That if you allow them enough time, a quarterback enough time, he's going to find an open receiver and he's going to throw it to that person. So with that said, I think that lends a lot of credibility to the fact that even as somebody in the secondary, you have to have a strong line. Either pass rushers or a strong defensive line, tackles breaking through, kind of like how KK and Starr does, and they get the sacks and everything. You have to have a strong front line that's going to disrupt the quarterback to give the secondary time, or to give the secondary an opportunity to make a play. Because if the quarterback is running for his life, he's not going to really have the opportunity to find that wide receiver out there to target him. So he's going to end up trying to throw some passes that's off of instinct, and that's where you can cause him to mess up, and the cornerback or safety, whoever, can make a play. Even the linebackers can make a play. So I feel like, we have to look at this being a team sport. I've heard it said, I believe it was Dave Gettleman said, it's like the truest of all team sports. We have to understand that when it comes down to this, we have to, and that salary cap has to provide for everybody to have their money. What I would have liked to have seen happen this year is I would love to have seen Josh Norman sign the $14 million contract, because let's be honest, I understand people saying taking care of their family, and I understand why he wanted to take the big paycheck or whatever, because for one, him starting older in his career, starting off at 24, him entering that age now at 28, where the typical standout athlete would have been going towards a second contract. Think about it like this: at the first, if the average kid comes into the league maybe like 20, 21 years old, and they have their rookie contract, and usually by the time they're about 24 or whatever, where Josh Norman was coming into the league, they would have signed their first big contract maybe for about 4 years. So now when they got to Josh Norman's age of 28, they would have been going into their second big contract, which would have pretty much, they would have coasted that out. They probably would have been sitting somewhere between 50 to 100 million, and in a situation where that's if they were smart with their money. And in the situation from there, they would have been able to take that and maybe do year to year after that, and just go to whatever team needs help to decide that they wanted to retire, and retire with a lot of money. I don't knock Josh Norman for trying to get his money. That's extremely important. Once again, though, I feel like if I was Josh Norman and having a loyalty to the Panthers coming from the home state, I would have signed the franchise tender a little quicker. But I don't know the situation, so I can't count his pockets. I can't say what he needs. But I've heard a lot of people say, even somebody said it on the forum, well, people are saying that you want to take care of your family. I never made $1 million a day in my life, and my family eats just fine. These athletes are spoiled and they whine too much. And I can see some truth in that statement, but if that's the case, and you can't just say Josh Norman, it has to be spread out across the board. But let's be honest, we have an opportunity to take care of our families or whatever, we're going to do it. And, you have to look at it like, what are you winning in what situation, what are you losing? You're leaving a team that went to the Super Bowl last year that, you said you wanted to come back with, and I believe that he did. And you had the opportunity to win this year. Still have an opportunity to win. Even without Josh Norman, we still have an opportunity to go back. It's going to be difficult, but we have to push, and we're capable of it, definitely. But you have a situation where this guy's getting paid $75 million now. Now him and his family are set for life off of that decision. And I think he was thinking about his interest in that situation, and you really can't knock him. So I see both sides of it. I feel like the deal is done now. There's nothing we can do about it. The Redskins have picked up a really good cornerback. Somebody's going to add a lot of ferocity, a lot of intensity to their team, to their defense. Now, whether he's going to be worth that $75 million, well, that is up for their GM and whoever else to decide. And I mean, I wish Josh Norman the best. I remember him saying earlier that Carolina wouldn't receive the discount. And I honestly, I'll be real, I kind of saw something like this happen. I wasn't astounded. I was more shocked that it was rescinded this early. I wouldn't have been shocked if later on if he took too long to sign it and they did something then. But that really made me think Dave Gettleman and Coach Rivera might have been like, all right, listen, man, we don't have time for all this, because a lot of people say they feel like it could cause drama later on. Not showing up to things, that's could cause a team that prides itself on having a really good, tight, respectable locker room. Like nobody has any issues with each other. A lot of people feels like if he was to continue to bring that kind of energy, that could make things worse. So with Dave Gettleman saying that he doesn't believe in the whole window to win the championship theory, he doesn't believe in the whole situation where we're one player away. It's all about building that team. So Dave Gettleman's not going to spend an outrageous sum of money to keep one particular player. And I think a lot of times these let's be honest now, these GMs and coaches, they're bosses. So they're going to look at it in such a way to where they're going to send a message so that people know that either you want to be here or you don't. If you don't want to be here, nobody's going to force you. If you go to your boss and you work there, you work at a regular company like most people, and you demand an amount of money that they feel is outrageous, they're going to give you a period of time to get your mind right, and they may kind of work with you and say, well, we'll do this, but what you're talking about is unreasonable, and we're not going to have that conversation. They're going to move on. And I believe that that's what happened. I heard that Josh Norman's agent didn't seem to really represent him well. And with that said, I wish that, maybe somebody could have stepped out and said, Josh maybe could have called and said, listen, I brought on a new agent. Let's reopen negotiations, see what we can do. But I think, he's a man too, and I feel like we have these times where we feel doubted or whatever the case may be. It may be a misunderstanding, but we feel like we have to prove ourselves, and I think that that's his goal, is to do that. So I wish him the best. It kind of bothers me a little bit, because I thought about when Charles Johnson was talking about leaving, and just thinking about how Josh Norman was giving him his respect and saying about how he wished he would come back and how he hopes he comes back. And I really felt like that was heartfelt, because he's a really big part of that defense as well, leadership-wise. And the fact that Charles Johnson came back and sacrificed and spent, and took less money to be with the Panthers, I feel like that opened up a lot of doors, for people to understand that much, loyalty to a team can really mean something. That when it can overshadow money, a great situation to be in can be more important than just having that money. Because when you have a situation where you're in a city that you love, you got people around you that support you, have a true fan base, you're best at what you do, and you have an opportunity to grow, as a legend without all of the drama, and your family's still well taken care of. I think it's a beautiful thing. I heard like Brandon Boykin, who I'm excited about, to sign with us, is going to be playing nickel. I heard that he even took less money, to come here, because he really felt like the past two situations and the past two teams, great as those teams are, that he wasn't going to have the opportunity to be able to shine there, so he took less money. And I really wish Josh Norman had maybe seen that and maybe said, okay, maybe instead of $16 million, I could take $12 million a year and still be good. And still be able to be with my Carolina people and still keep my fan base intact. But nevertheless, what's done is done now. I thought we had Josh for one more year. I really thought that would have been good. I really felt like he would have given that defense an extra edge. But I believe that with the draft coming up in a few days, with free agency still open, I understand that Dave Gettleman and Ron Vera know more about the defense that they're trying to run and what they're trying to do than I do and than anybody else does. So I feel like they're going to have something together. I've heard talks of Cromartie and people like that. So I'm hoping that something big like that happens. So we'll just see what's going to happen. But, all the people who hating on Josh Norman, look here, man. That man had to get his money. He has a family to feed, and, he has to live with the decision that he makes. I don't think it was necessarily a bad one. Of course, I'd rather see him stay with the Panthers. I do feel like both sides maybe could have done a little bit more, and I definitely felt like maybe Josh Norman could have looked at taking a little bit less money, but that ain't for me to say. All right, so he has to make the decision that he felt like he needed to make, and maybe his loyalty was more to his financial security, being that he's a little bit older than the average person that has been in the league this amount of time, and he wants to make sure that he's good, because some of the same people that have come back have also had opportunity to get these bigger contracts before. So shout out to J-No, wish him the best. Now you line up against from the Panthers. Now I'll be honest with you, once a Panther, always a Panther. I'm still the Steve Smith man. I don't care where he goes, but obviously when you're playing us now, I can't be rooting for you then. But I wish you the best in every other thing that you're doing, man. I think you're a great player, man. Represent for the Carolinians, man. And to everybody in Panther Nation, all the sports fans, let's get excited about this draft that's coming up. So I will definitely be making a pre-draft video very soon, and I'll make a video the day of the draft too. So I appreciate your time.